All right, and welcome to episode 7 of the FilmCast. My name is Lorenzo. If this is your first time joining us, then I'd like to say please check out the previous episodes. They're on WICR's YouTube channel. And without further ado, let's get right into this week's reviews. Starting off, we have a film that I honestly didn't expect to like as much as I did, especially considering that it's a biopic of someone that I'm not exactly familiar with. But surprisingly, I ended up really liking it. And that film is Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. The film is basically an over dramatized biopic of the man known as Weird Al Yankovic. And for those who do not know who Weird Al Yankovic is, he is a he's somewhat of a niche. He's a popular musician, but kind of niche because because he mainly makes parodies of songs that were popular in the 1980s and 1990s. I think he's still working today. Um, he's he's parodied songs from the likes of Michael Jackson, Coolio, Madonna, among so many others. And in this film, the actor they got to play Weird Al is surprisingly Daniel Radcliffe. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. Why would they get that kid from Harry Potter to play him? Well, after after Harry Potter, ended, Daniel Radcliffe tried his best to just stray as far away from Harry Potter as possible. And the results were kind of mixed, to be honest. While it didn't get off to the best start, eventually he eased into being, sort of a character actor, mainly in films like A24's Swiss Army Man and on the TBS show Miracle Workers. Um, and overall, he's probably the best part of this entire movie because he completely takes over the role of Weird Al. And on top of that, they also got a bunch of actors to play some recognizable people in the movie. For starters, they got Evan Rachel Wood, who you may know from the series Westwood, to play Madonna, because apparently Weird Al and Madonna had a thing back in the 1980s, but that's not important. Yep. You also have Rainn Wilson, who many of you obviously know as Dwight Schrute from The Office, as Weird Al's manager and mentor, Dr. Dementor. Yeah, I know. Crazy name, but it was the 1970s. So aside from aside from them, you also have Toby Huss, who you may know from King of the Hill, and Julianne Nicholson, who was in another biopic not too long ago called which was the Marilyn Monroe biopic Blonde, as Weird Al's parents. And and not only that, but they got a ton, and I do mean a ton of actors to cameo. And this includes, but is not limited to, you have Weird Al himself as a record producer, and Will Forte as said record producer's partner. You have Conan O'Brien as Andy Warhol of all people. You have Jorma Taccone, who you may know from The Lonely Island as Pee Wee Herman. You have his Lonely Island partner, Akiva Schaffer, as Alice Cooper. You have Dimitri Martin, best known for his role on Cartoon Network's We Bare Bears, as Tiny Tim, who many of you know as the guy who sang "Living in the Sunlight" or something similar to that. You also have David Dastmalchian, who you may recognize from James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie as John Deacon of Queen. And you have some little cameos from the likes of Patton Oswalt, Michael McKean, Josh Groban, Seth Green, and even Lin-Manuel Miranda. But without a doubt, the best cameo in this movie is Jack Black as famous radio DJ, Wolfman Jack, baby. And let me just say, I really want to see a Wolfman Jack biopic starring Jack Black. Anyways, oh yeah, enough about the cast. Let's talk about the actual movie. Like I said, Daniel Radcliffe absolutely absorbs the performance of, absolutely absorbs the character of Weird Al. I think he did amazing. Evan Rachel Wood did really great as Madonna, as did Rainn Wilson as Dr. Demento. The problem is that, like, some of the jokes were kind of hit or miss, to be honest. Like, we've all seen them before in a little movie that some of y'all may have heard of called Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which of course starred John C. Riley. Um, but yeah, like, everything just felt kind of over dramatized and the jokes were kind of hit or miss at best. But overall, I would definitely recommend it if you're a huge fan of Weird Al and if you really want to see a new spin on biopics. I honestly think that this could do to biopics what Airplane did to disaster mo- bleh. Um I think that this movie could do to biopics what Scary Movie did to horror movies, and that, like, just completely satirizing the subgenre of it. Now, how to how can you watch it? Well, it was made available on the Roku channel, which, for those of you who do not know what Roku is, it's basically a thing that is available on, like, a couple of TVs you probably heard of, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is, it's free to watch on Roku, whether you have it, like, on your TV or, like, the little Roku stick, or you can even just watch it on their website for free. Granted, there are commercial breaks every now and again, but it's ultimately worth it. Or at least I think it's ultimately worth it. Now, this weekend we do have pretty some pretty interesting releases. On Well, obviously, this weekend we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the long-awaited and much anticipated sequel to 2018's Black Panther, which, in my opinion, is one of the best of the MCU. Um, Honestly, I am a bit worried, especially considering the passing of Chadwick Boseman about 2 years ago. But ever, but the trailers, but the trailers sold me on the fact that it'll be good, and I have enough faith in director Ryan Coogler to think that he would, deliver a good movie. The film, the film does The film does bring back many of the cast from the original Black Panther, including Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Guerrera, Winston Duke, Martin Freeman, and Angela Bassett. And the film will be released tomorrow on November 11th, or tonight if you're interested in seeing it before everyone else. But that's not important. And also coming this weekend is a film that I'm also pretty excited for, but completely different reasons. And that is Steven Spielberg's coming of age semi-biographical film, The Fablemans, which is actually which as I said, it's semi-autobiographical because it's actually somewhat somewhat related to Steven Spielberg's like upbringing, how he got his start in film and what made him become a filmmaker. Anyways, the film stars Michelle Williams and Paul Dano as eh, wait, what am I talking about? Oh yeah, right, the Fablemans. Obviously, like I said, it follows like a young man by the name of Sammy Fableman who aspires to become a film director, even with and it's basically about like how he becomes a film director and it also talks about his family life and how he was so massively impacted on the movies that he saw as a kid. Obviously, Steven Spielberg is an absolute legend of film, and I'm truly excited to see like what he'll have to bring to this. The film will star Gabriel LaBelle as Sammy Fableman, who is, of course, a representation of Steven Spielberg himself. The film will also star Michelle Williams and Paul Dano as Sammy's parents, and Seth Rogen, surprisingly, as Sammy's uncle, and Judd Hirsch as Sammy's grandfather. The film will be released on November 11th, but only limited because it's going to be getting a wide release 2 weeks later. Well, at least kind of 2 weeks later, on November 23rd, 2022. And like I said, I'm super excited for this movie, and I've also heard talks that it's it may be like a front runner to win big at the Academy Awards sometime next year. So, yeah, there's that. And coming on November 14th, sorry, we have a new documentary coming to Netflix, but it's from Jonah Hill, who directs and stars in the documentary Stutz, which is basically a 90 or so minute conversation between him and his therapist. And as I mentioned on my previous episode, Jonah Hill has overcome a lot to get where he is right now. He's over and I truly do appreciate how he's willing to talk about his mental health struggles, especially in this documentary and in this day and age that we live in, where mental health is extremely important to talk about. Um, it, it it offers a glimpse into what Jonah Hill had to go through throughout his career, and also explains the drastic weight loss that he endured, like during the late 2010s. And like I said, the film will be released on Netflix on November 14th. And speaking of streaming services, we have a new Christmas film coming to Apple TV Plus on November 18th, and that film is Spirited. The film will star Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, and to make a long story short, it's it's a modernized musical version of A Christmas Carol, with Will Ferrell playing the Ghost of Christmas Present and Ryan Reynolds playing basically Ebenezer Scrooge, but in this case, his name is Clint Briggs. The film will also star Octavia Spencer as, I want to say, Will Ferrell's love interest, judging by the trailer, but I could be wrong. I'm like Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I am a bit iffy about the film. Like, I am interested in the premise. I'm not necessarily sure that it'll be good. Why is that? Well, in all honesty, I've said this on the previous episode, but Will Ferrell honestly has not, in my opinion, Will Ferrell has not made a truly great movie since The Other Guys, and that movie was released all the way back in 2010. So, yeah, that gives me a little bit a lot of worry. And also, in all honesty, I'm kind of starting to get sick of Ryan Reynolds' shtick because he's honestly been playing the same character since Deadpool. And I just really want to see him do more like daring roles. Like I'm gonna go off topic a bit, but back in 2010, he did a movie called Buried, which was literally a movie where he was buried alive underground for, I want to say, like, hang on a second. So yeah, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Buried. So like I said, in Buried, Ryan Reynolds actually like is literally stuck underground for about 90 minutes, and it's actually really great. Highly recommend it. And I really want to see him do more roles like that instead of roles like Spirited or really anything that's come out since Deadpool. But hey, he'll be returning to Deadpool in a couple of years with Deadpool 3, so there's that. And yeah, Spirited will be released on Apple TV Plus on November 18th, 2022. However, and I do mean however, the film will get a very, 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 very tiny limited release the actually tomorrow or the week prior to its Apple TV release. And yeah, like Apple TV Plus is kind of known to do this. Like they have done it with Sophia Coppola's On the Rocks, and they're planning to do it again with Will Smith's upcoming slave drama, Emancipation, which will be coming in December, but that's a story for another day. And speaking of Christmas movies coming to streaming services, there was one that I actually forgot to mention last week, and that film is A Christmas Story Christmas, which is a stupid title, stupid, but it actually takes place 30 years after the events of A Christmas Story, basically in the mid 1970s, and it brought back Ralphie himself, Peter Billingsley, to his former home in Indiana with his wife and children, and he reunites with his old friends and his now widowed mother. And while this movie does look cute, I'm not entirely optimistic about it because, for starters, well, it's kind of a legacy sequel. And unless if it's Spider Man No Way Home or the recent Scream movie, they don't really tend to be great, especially in the case of Matrix Revolutions or Matrix Resurrections. Sorry for that, which came out last December, or the past summer's Jurassic World Dominion. However, I do have faith in Peter Billingsley he'll he'll give us a good movie. After all, he was involved with the story for A Christmas Story Christmas. And the film will be released on HBO Max on November 17th, 2022. And I'm going to end this episode off by talking about another movie that I talked about last week. And that film is the black comedy horror film The Menu, which is directed by Mark Mylod of Succession fame and starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, and Ralph Fiennes. Like I said in the previous episode, it follows Anya Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Hoult as a young couple who travel to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant run by a chef played by Ralph Fiennes. And the concept does sound interesting, but I'm not gonna give it entirely away because I feel like you'd have to watch the trailers to really understand what the film will be about. The film will be released by Searchlight Pictures on November 18th, 2022. And that's all I got for this week. I hope you guys really liked this episode. Subscribe and like if you'd like to hear more from me. And I will see you guys next week with my review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And maybe, possibly The Fablemans, if I can try to see it by then. Until then, see you guys next week.